Welcome. Let your body sink into rest now. Let the weight of everything you've been carrying fall away. Let your breath become soft and slow. Tonight, I'm going to tell you stories from a kingdom. Not a kingdom of people, but of animals. A place where the lion rules, where creatures great and small come seeking justice, seeking wisdom, seeking their place in the world. These are tales from the Panchatantra, stories of cleverness and foolishness, of loyalty and betrayal, of choices made and consequences faced. But tonight, these stories are simply here to carry you towards sleep. There are 4 tales woven together. You don't need to follow every detail. You don't need to remember the morals. Just let the stories flow around you like evening wind through grass. Let them soften the edges of your thoughts. The first story begins now, in the Savannah Kingdom, where a lion ruled with power but not wisdom. There was a lion. He was king of the savannah, not because he was wise, not because he was kind, but because he was strong, the strongest. His roar could be heard for miles. His claws could tear through anything. No creature dared challenge him. He lived in a cave at the base of a rocky outcrop where the shadows stayed cool even in the heat of the day. From there, he would emerge each evening to hunt, and every evening he would kill deer, antelope, buffalo, whatever crossed his path. He hunted not just for food, but for the pleasure of it, for the feeling of power, for the reminder that he was king. The other animals lived in fear. They scattered when they heard his roar. They hid when they caught his scent. The savannah was his, and they were simply prey. But as the years passed, the lion grew old. His legs became stiff. His teeth loosened. His breath grew short. Hunting became difficult, then painful, then nearly impossible. He could no longer chase down the swift deer, could no longer overpower the strong buffalo. He was starving, and so he made a plan. He announced to all the animals that he was too old to hunt, that he was dying, that he wished to see them one last time before he passed from this world. "Come to my cave," he said. "Come pay your respects. Let me see your faces one more time before I die." And because animals can be foolish, because they believed what they wanted to believe, they came. One by one, they entered his cave, and one by one, they never came out. The lion was not dying, he was eating. Each visitor became his meal, easy prey, delivered right to his den. Days passed. The cave entrance was littered with bones, but still the animals came. Still they believed, until one day a rabbit came. The rabbit was small, gray, with long ears and quick eyes. He had been summoned like all the others. It was his turn to visit the dying king. But the rabbit was clever in the way small creatures must be to survive in a world of larger predators. He approached the cave slowly. He looked at the ground around the entrance, and he saw what others had missed. Tracks, hundreds of footprints, all leading into the cave, but none leading out. The rabbit's ears twitched, his nose quivered. He stayed far from the entrance, and then he heard the lion's voice from inside the cave. "Come in, little one. Don't be afraid. I only want to see you before I die." The rabbit called back, his voice polite but distant. "Your Majesty, I am honored by your invitation, but I have noticed something troubling." "What is that?" the lion asked, an edge of impatience in his voice. "I see many footprints leading into your cave, the tracks of deer and antelope and buffalo, but I see no footprints coming out." "Silence," the rabbit continued. "The tracks tell me a story, Your Majesty. They tell me that many have entered your cave, but none have left, and so I must decline your invitation. I will pay my respects from here." The lion roared, a sound of rage and frustration. But the rabbit was already gone, hopping away through the tall grass, his white tail bobbing. He had survived, not through strength, but through observation, through paying attention to what others had missed. The lion remained in his cave, hungry and angry, and eventually, when no more animals came, he had to emerge and face the truth. That cleverness can defeat strength, that the smallest creature can outwit the mightiest, that power without wisdom is just hunger in disguise. The sun continued its journey across the sky. The heat of the day gave way to the coolness of evening. Shadows grew long, the savanna breathed, and in a different part of the kingdom, the second story was beginning. There was a donkey. He was not a wild donkey. He belonged to a washerman who lived at the edge of a village. Every day, the donkey carried heavy loads of wet clothes from the river to the village. His back was sore, his legs were tired, his life was hard, but the donkey was also vain. He looked at himself in the river's reflection and thought himself handsome. He brayed loudly, thinking his voice was beautiful. He believed he was destined for greater things than carrying laundry. One night, he wandered away from the washerman's house. He was hungry. The washerman barely fed him, so the donkey decided to find his own food. He walked into the forest, following the scent of grass and leaves, and there, in a clearing, he found something unexpected. A lion's skin, not a living lion, just the skin. A hunter had killed a lion and skinned it, leaving the hide to dry on the ground. The donkey stared at it, and an idea formed in his foolish mind. If he wore the lion's skin, he would look like a lion, and if he looked like a lion, other animals would fear him, would respect him, would treat him like the king he believed himself to be. He picked up the skin with his teeth. It was heavy, it smelled of death, but he draped it over his back, pulling it around his body until he was covered. He looked at his reflection in a nearby puddle. He looked like a lion, or at least he thought he did. Excited, proud, the donkey walked back toward the village, but he didn't go to the washerman's house. Instead, he went to the edge of the fields where the farmers' crops grew. When the farmers saw him approaching in the dim light, they saw only the shape of a lion. They screamed, they ran, they abandoned their fields. The donkey was thrilled. He had power, he had fear. He was finally being treated the way he deserved. He entered the field and began to eat wheat, vegetables, everything the farmers had grown. Night after night, he returned. Night after night, the farmers fled. The donkey grew fat, grew bold, grew more foolish. And then one night, as he was eating in the field, he heard something, another donkey, a female, braying in the distance. The donkey in the lion's skin felt something stir in him, a desire to respond, to call back, to announce himself. He forgot, for a moment, what he was pretending to be. He opened his mouth and brayed, not a roar, a bray, the unmistakable sound of a donkey. The farmers, who had been hiding, heard it. They looked at each other. That was not a lion. They emerged from their hiding places. They approached with torches. They saw the lion's skin, and beneath it, the donkey. Their fear turned to anger. They beat him. They chased him. They tore the lion's skin from his back and sent him running into the night, bruised and humiliated. The donkey returned to the washerman's house. His back was sore. His pride was shattered. He had learned, in the hardest way possible, that you cannot be what you are not, that disguises eventually fail, that pretending to be powerful is not the same as being wise, and that sometimes The greatest foolishness is forgetting who you really are. The moon rose higher. The stars appeared, scattered across the darkness like seeds thrown by an invisible hand. The night deepened, and in a small house at the edge of the savannah, the third story was quietly unfolding. There was a family, a man, his wife, their baby son, and a mongoose. The mongoose was not a pet, not exactly, but he lived with the family. He had been found as a pup, abandoned, near death. The man's wife had taken pity on him and brought him into their home. The mongoose had grown up with them. He slept near the door. He ate scraps from their meals. He watched over the house with bright, intelligent eyes. The family loved him, but they also didn't quite trust him. He was, after all, a wild creature. And wild creatures, they believed, could not truly be tamed. One day, the wife needed to go to the well to fetch water. The husband was in the fields. The baby was sleeping in his cradle inside the house. She looked at the mongoose, who sat by the door, watching her with his dark eyes. "Watch over the house," she said, not really expecting him to understand. And then she left. The mongoose sat by the door. He listened to the sounds of the house, the baby's soft breathing, the wind through the thatch, the distant call of birds. And then he heard something else, a slithering sound, scales against earth. He turned. Through a gap in the wall, a snake was entering. Not a small snake, a cobra, black and thick, its hood flared, its tongue flicking. It moved toward the cradle, toward the baby. The mongoose's body tensed. Every instinct screamed at him. Protect, he didn't think. He didn't hesitate. He launched himself at the snake. They fought. The snake struck. The mongoose dodged. They rolled across the floor, a tangle of fur and scales. The mongoose bit. The snake coiled. They crashed into walls, knocked over pots. The fight was vicious, desperate, and then, finally, the mongoose's teeth found the snake's neck. He bit down hard. He held on. The snake thrashed, then slowed, then stopped. Dead, the mongoose panted. His fur was covered in blood, some of it the snake's, some of it his own. He was wounded, exhausted, but the baby was safe, still sleeping, unaware of the battle that had just been fought to protect him. The mongoose dragged the snake's body outside. Then he sat by the door, waiting for the family to return, his mouth still stained with blood. The wife returned from the well. She saw the mongoose sitting by the door. She saw the blood on his mouth, on his fur, and she saw no snake, no evidence of what had happened. Her mind leaped to the worst conclusion. The baby. She dropped the water pot. It shattered. She ran into the house. The baby was there, safe, sleeping peacefully. She looked around, and then she saw the snake's body outside, partially hidden in the grass. She understood. The mongoose had not attacked her child. He had saved him. She fell to her knees. She wept, not from fear, but from shame. She had doubted him, had assumed the worst, had not trusted the creature who had proven himself more loyal than she could have imagined. When her husband returned, she told him everything. They cleaned the mongoose's wounds. They gave him the best food they had. They never doubted him again. The mongoose had taught them something that day, that loyalty is not always loud. It doesn't announce itself. It simply acts. And that sometimes the ones we trust least are the ones who will sacrifice most. The night grew deeper still. The fire in the village houses burned low. The world settled into the quiet hours, when most creatures sleep and only a few remain awake. And in those quiet hours, The fourth and final story began. There was a jackal, thin, scrawny, the kind of creature who survived on scraps and cunning. He lived on the outskirts of the kingdom, neither part of the village nor part of the wild, belonging nowhere, always hungry. One night, while searching for food, he wandered into a village. He crept through the streets, his nose to the ground, following the scent of meat, but he made a mistake. He knocked over a pot. The sound woke the village dogs. They came after him, barking, snarling, a pack of them. The jackal ran through the streets, through alleyways, desperate, terrified, and then he saw it, a house with an open door. He darted inside. It was a dyer's house, a place where cloth was colored. There were vats everywhere, large pots filled with dye, blue, red, yellow, green. The jackal, not looking where he was going, fell into one of the vats. Blue dye, he thrashed, he struggled, he pulled himself out, gasping, covered head to tail in bright blue. The dogs arrived at the door. They saw him, and they stopped. They didn't recognize him. This blue creature, this strange thing. They barked once, confused, then ran away. The jackal escaped. He ran back into the forest, wet and blue and alive. When he reached a clearing, he looked at his reflection in a pool of water. He was completely blue. Not a single patch of his original gray-brown fur remained visible. He looked different, strange, like no creature anyone had ever seen, and another foolish idea formed in his mind. The next day, the jackal walked through the forest, and when the other animals saw him, they stopped. "What are you?" they asked. The jackal stood tall. He spoke with a voice full of authority. "I am sent from the heavens. I am the Blue King. I have been chosen by the gods to rule over all of you." The animals had never seen anything like him. His blue color seemed otherworldly, divine. They believed him. They bowed. They brought him food. They followed his commands. The jackal became king. Not through strength, not through wisdom, but through accident and deception. For weeks, he lived in luxury. The best food, the most comfortable den, respect from all creatures. But he grew arrogant. He began to believe his own lie. He began to think he truly was special, chosen. One evening, as the sun was setting, the jackal heard something in the distance. Other jackals, his own kind, howling. It was instinct, deep and primal, the call of his people. He opened his mouth to respond. He howled, not with the voice of a divine king, but with the voice of a jackal, unmistakable. The animals heard. They looked at him. They saw past the blue. "He's just a jackal," someone shouted. The deception shattered. The animals turned on him. They chased him. They drove him out of the forest. The Blue King fell, not because his color faded, but because he couldn't hide what he truly was. The jackal ran until he could run no more. He found a cave far from everyone, and there he stayed, blue and alone, learning the hardest lesson of all. That borrowed glory is always temporary, that deception always collapses, that you cannot rule through lies, no matter how colorful they are, and that in the end, we are all just what we are, nothing more, nothing less. And so all four stories end. The clever rabbit who survived through observation, the foolish donkey who forgot himself, the loyal mongoose who proved his worth, the blue jackal who tried to be what he was not. Four creatures in the lion's kingdom, four tales of wisdom and foolishness, four reminders that power comes in many forms, and that sometimes the smallest creature holds the greatest truth. Let these stories settle in you now. Let your body rest completely. Let your mind release all the thoughts it's been holding. Let the savannah night wrap around you like warm darkness. You don't need to be powerful. You don't need to be clever. You don't need to pretend to be anything you're not. You just need to be here, now. Breathing softly, letting go. The kingdom is quiet. The lion sleeps. The rabbit is safe. The mongoose rests by the door. The blue jackal has learned his lesson. And you are held by the same ancient wisdom that has held every creature since the beginning of time. You are enough. You are safe. You are home. Sleep now. Let the stories fade. Let the night hold you. Let the morning come when it comes. Rest.